check. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Simple Plan Live. It's great to be with you again. This is our pre-weekend edition. We are going to be looking at some interesting stuff today around financial plans. My name's Brad Macbeth, and I'm glad to be with you. You can always find us on Facebook at Macbeth Group. Follow us there. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter. Cash Coach Canada on Twitter and Macbeth Group on Instagram. Want to thank our sponsor, Simple Plan Life Insurance. You can get your own customized personal life insurance quotes from all major Canadian insurers at getthesimpleplan.com/quotes. You can also calculate how much life insurance you might need at getthesimpleplan.com/how much. We do have a tool that we're putting out there today for your help in figuring out which way you're going in your financial life. It's the Simple Plan Retirement Calculator. You can calculate how much you're going to need to accumulate in order to live the way you want to in retirement, and then based on that, how much you should be saving today. You can get that at bit.ly/SPRetireCalc. That's bit.ly/SPRetireCalc. So thanks very much. It's really great to be with you today. We are going to jump right into it. I'm going to switch over here, and we're going to show you that mysterious thing that gets talked about so much, but probably a lot of people aren't really clear what it is, and that is a financial plan. Now, there's many different tools that different people use for producing financial plans, but what I want to get down to today is some of the components that you really should find in your financial plan, some of the things that you really need to be thinking about. We see a lot of questions around what should I be doing in terms of my RRSP or savings or retirement, or should it be in a TFSA or what have you? And those are important questions, but those are very tactical questions. You really have to have your strategic vision going in terms of your financial plan, because the things that we do when we make choices in our younger ages, in our working years, have a profound impact in our later years when we retire. Because they have profound impact on things such as how much tax we're going to pay. And what we really want to do is figure out how we can make the most of the tax system while we go, both in our working years and also in our retirement. And there's no one perfect answer for any of that. It's just a matter of your particular circumstance and how you want to proceed and line your life up. So this is just the cover of a sample financial plan. This is not a client plan or anything like that. It's just a plan that demonstrates for you the kinds of things that we look at when we're putting together a financial plan. And so let's take a look at that. One of the most important things right here is what we call the note to the reader. It really just says, look, these are projections, and they're for discussion purposes and planning ideas only. Everything's going to change once you get going. So you want to be clear that you understand that. And of course, as with all plans, they don't last much in terms of their perfect accuracy beyond when we first start them, because we put projections in our plans, but of course, reality intercedes immediately after. So we can say, well, gee, we want to get 7% or 6% or what have you rate of return on an investment. Well, a couple of things are going to happen there. First is returns don't come in a straight line, like at a 6% or a 7% rate. They come daily. And that's one impact. The other is, of course, over periods of time, we can then adjust our course based on the results we've been getting and the assumptions we've had. All right. And of course, we're going to put our goals and objectives in. That's going to be, somewhere along the lines of, and this is a very simplistic view of it, to live a sustainable retirement assured of our income. As we mentioned a week ago or so, that is the number one financial worry that people have, that they're going to run out of money in retirement. And so by having a plan, we can help to make sure that never happens. All right. So plans are based on assumptions, and so every good plan will have itemized in it the assumptions that it's based on. And so that includes the dates. And once you put a plan together, you should be looking at your plan at least once a year to review progress and assumptions and how things are going. So in this particular example, we have an inflation rate of 2.1% that we also use as the same inflation rate for Canada Pension Plan and Old Age Security. Your plan should incorporate which province you're in, because different provinces have different tax rates. And then we have rates of return for cash and fixed income and equity. For the particular individual, let's go back there. For the particular individual in this case, we also, of course, set a retirement target age, age 65 in this case, and also when they're going to start their CPP and OAS, because you can defer those. And in the case of CPP, you can actually take it earlier as well, and that will affect the amount that you're going to get at a given time. The percent of maximum on CPP, that is based on your individual situation. How much have you contributed over what length of time? You can get that information from Canada Revenue Agency. The OAS percent of maximum, that's usually 100% for most people in Canada, or for many. For those that have not spent their entire working life in Canada, though, that may vary. It may be lower than that. And then finally, we have rates of return for the various types of accounts, including house appreciation rate on real assets, mortgage interest rates, and that kind of thing. Okay, so let's switch over here and look at, I'm just going to pull up our other application that has this information so that we can write on it. There we go. All right, so let's pull this down. Okay, not cooperating. Let me just arrange my windows here so we can see what we're doing. Okay, so here we have the net worth statement for this particular client. And you can see that it's proceeding. This client was age 60 when we started this plan. And again, this is a completely hypothetical plan. It's not a real person. And so they started age 60 out on the left here. Let me just get something to help you see everything we're looking at. And so they're age 60 there on the left. There we go. So right down here, they are starting at age 60, and they move through to age 100, which for a person this age, at this state, at this time, that is well past normal life expectancy, but we don't want to run out of money. So we're going to project past normal life expectancy. Okay, and so what we see here in net worth is where the various holdings are that make up this person's net worth. So we've got, moving here, we've got the registered plan, the non-registered, tax-free savings account, real assets, liabilities, and their overall net worth, which is this blue dotted line across the top. So you can see along the bottom here, this pink, they've got liabilities, which over time are going to disappear. In fact, ideally, we would be rid of those liabilities before they retire. In fact, if you're a younger person, let's work toward and let's hope that you're going to be beyond your liabilities at a much younger age. So then we get real assets. In many cases, that's a house, the personal residence, and you can see that they own this, in this case, throughout time, and the value of it increases as the real estate prices go up. Tax-free savings account, you can see that chugging along there. Non-registered savings, and then the blue is registered savings, so RRSP. And so what you'll notice is that over the arc of time here, these amounts are shifting and changing. That's because we're drawing down in our retirement from our assets. So once they get to age 65, they're no longer contributing. Things start to draw down. They remain at a relative, well, the net worth doesn't change much, you'll notice, but you'll notice that the non-house assets do change over time, with this projection showing that they're being completely exhausted by the time they get to age 100. Also, we'll see in some of the tables that we're drawing out the money at different points in time to achieve the maximum optimization of taxation. That is, to limit as much as we reasonably can what we're paying in taxes. All right, so let's go to the next. All right, now this is what one of the things that people should really be working backward from when making their plan is how much after-tax spending am I going to have to live on? And so we're going to spend a few sessions on looking at how these plans are put together. Today we're looking at the results. We're looking at the report, the plan that gets produced, but we're going to drill down in coming weeks into exactly the nuts and bolts of how this stuff all happens. All right, so what we see here is ages 60 to 64. This person is continuing to work. They retire at age 65, and they start drawing an income. In fact, in this case, their income's higher than their now this is their after-tax spending. So don't get me wrong about that. This is just their after-tax spending. So when they cross over into retirement, their after-tax spending is increasing. There can be a lot of reasons for that. One can be that you have your mortgage paid off because in this pre-retirement, whenever we have mortgage payments, we're not including that as after-tax spending, even though technically that is what it is. Those are after-tax dollars. So age 65, and what we've done is we have optimized, for want of a better word, or leveled the after-tax spending for this individual. Now, you say that doesn't look level. It looks like it's going up, and that's true. We've leveled it in what's called real dollars. So that means that inflation is going to affect our spending, our ability to spend. Just as it cost much less to buy a home 20 years ago, 20 years from now, in terms of actual dollars, in terms of the total dollars, it will cost much more to buy a head of lettuce than it does today. That's simply the result of inflation. And so in order to have the same spending power or the same level of living lifestyle in the future, we have to adjust for inflation. We have to make it so that our after-tax spending increases by that rate of inflation to keep up with it. And so that's why we see that their spending is going up from, somewhere around $65,000 to well over $100,000 by the time they reach age 100. Now, you can get more sophisticated with this because it's also, of course, quite possible that, in fact, it's very likely that in many ways you will spend less as you get older. You're probably not going to take trips to Europe when you're 98, but you may well do that when you're 73. On the other hand, you may have some healthcare expenses when you're 98 that you don't have when you're 73. All right, so this is what we're looking for, is to kind of level out the expectation of spending in our retirement years. All right, so go to the next screen. All right, now here's the big question. That's fine, we're spending that money. Where is the money coming from? And in this one, we can see a number of things. We can see, first off, before we retire, over here in these few years, we are using employment income. We're living off the money that we earn from working. That's really the definition of retirement. Is pre-retirement, we are living off the money that we earn from working, whether it's as an employee or in a business or what have you, as opposed to when we go to retire, we live off the money that we are that's coming in from our assets that we've accumulated. Those can be government entitlement programs like CPP and OAS, could be our RSP, could be other non-taxable sources of some kind, your tax-free savings account, and non-registered accounts. So also in this chart, what you see is this pink line running along here toward the bottom. That is the tax that we're paying over time here. So what we see is when we retire, in that first year of retirement, our sources, we're taking our money primarily from our non-registered assets. And of course, we're getting some OAS and CPP. Actually, this big non-taxable here, we'll see in our charts, is actually inheritance that was worked into this plan. The person assuming that they're going to get an inheritance at some point. And then we carry on. Now we'll notice at a certain point here, the green appears at age 72, and that's because at age 71, you are compelled to begin withdrawing money at a prescribed rate from your RRSP. And so you're going to take money from there. And, it carries on. But this is the important thing. It's one thing to say, listen, I need a lifestyle where I can live on $60,000 in retirement, and I need this lump sum. But until you get down to the fairly granular level of, well, where exactly is that money going to come from, and how refined are my assumptions, you can't be confident that you're going to meet your goals and expectations for retirement. And that's why you not only have to get them detailed at this level, but also to review it annually as everything continues to shift. All right, so let's go to our next slide, our next report view. Okay, here's the other big question. What does it all look like when I'm done? What am I leaving behind for others? Now, again, this is theoretical, and so in theory, this gets run down perfectly to zero the day we die. In this case, projected out to age 100. So at age 100, this person has no capital assets. No capital assets. They have real assets. That's going to be their house, now worth $1.2 million. They don't have any insurance. They didn't have any debt when they died. So their estate is worth $1.2 million and change. And so their estate after tax is $1.2 million and change because it was their personal residence. So when they died, there was no tax owing on it. And in real dollars, that means adjusted back to today for inflation, that they're leaving behind $539,000 in the form of an asset, which is the house. Now, the house will probably get sold unless family members want to live in it or what have you. So this is also a big part of our plan. How do we want things to end up? Are we wanting to leave something for somebody? Are we wanting to leave some assets behind for others? Some money, that kind of a bequest, a property. And of course, that can get very interesting. It could be a business that you're passing on. It could be a recreational property you're passing along. And all those things have potentially debts associated with them and also potential tax liabilities associated with them. So you want to be planning for that. All right, now this is going to appear fairly tiny on your screen. I'm not going to get into the detail of it other than to tell you what this is about. And that is, this is just showing what your cash flow is. And so this person was age 60 in the year 2020. In real dollars, that's the baseline year dollars. It's 37,223. That's why the nominal dollars, so the inflation adjusted dollars, are the same because in the first year they were not adding any inflation. Employment income, we'll see they've got 5 years of $90,000 of employment income. They don't have other income, nothing coming in yet from CPP or OAS. They're paying premiums for CPP and EI, and they are adding to their tax-free savings account. No, actually, in this case, they're, well, that's interesting. Yes, they're adding to their tax-free savings account. So and they're also adding to their RSP. They're also making debt payments, we can see here. that's level, so I'm going to assume that's probably their mortgage. This case, that person was paying their mortgage to age 76. We don't recommend that. You would want to try to be out of your mortgage for sure no later than the time you retire. All right, and so then we see the tax summary here. And this is a significant reason why we make plans, is so that we can optimize and minimize to our greatest advantage how much tax we're paying. And so we can see that their taxable income in that year is $81,674. Their total tax paid is $16,522, and we have both their marginal and their effective or average tax rate. And so let's just go down that column a bit, because that's what we want to optimize, is reduce as much as we can the effective tax rate we're going to pay, especially in retirement. So how do we do that? Well, we do that by making choices about where we put our investments, whether we put them in registered retirement savings plans or in tax-free savings account, or perhaps if you're a business owner of some kind, you might put it in an individual pension plan, an IPP. That can have some good advantages. There's all sorts of different aspects to it. Of course, taxation is an extremely complex question, but we want to be planning for that. All right, and then we see where their income is coming from through the years. So we've got employment income there in the first 5 years, and then we've got inheritance, as I pointed out there, in that 1 year, 2026, and then we've got CPP, OAS. In that year, we're taking our money from non-registered sources. We do that for a number of years. That 1 year, we don't have to take anything else because we've got the inheritance. And then we start to draw down from our registered investments, our RRSP. And going down. That's the end of that. We're not extending that look right through out to age 100. This is just to show you how it goes. But this is the level we can get to. And of course, things adjust as we go. So what we project is not exactly what's going to happen. But as we keep correcting our course, we stay on track to reach our goal. So think of it this way. If we're going to fly from Vancouver to Toronto, we file a flight plan, and it says this is where we're going to go, this is the altitude we're going to fly at, and we're going to arrive at such and such a time. But once the plane takes off, everything starts to shift because different things happen. There are prevailing winds, and so we might have a tailwind, or maybe we have a headwind. There are storms that we want to go around, so perhaps we fly at a different altitude because there's a storm at a particular altitude en route. And what that means then is if we had to lower our altitude, we meet more air resistance, and so we burn more fuel, and we also perhaps go slower. So these are the types of things that we need to consider from a financial point of view. Everything adjusts as we go. And so once we are on our way, we keep taking a reading of where we're at, and we keep adjusting our course as we go. So eventually, to continue our metaphor, we do land in Toronto, but the way that we got there was certainly not exactly what we projected in our flight plan before we took off. And so that's why you really need to have a financial plan that you follow and that you consistently review and adjust. Because when we get to retiring, if instead of adjusting as we went, let's say, for example, we had all our money inside an RRSP. And so we've had the deduction, but it turns out that we're actually going to live, as this person did, with more taxable income after retirement than before. Well, what we've done is we've deferred a big tax liability. Then we're actually going to pay more tax in retirement. So perhaps it wasn't the wisest thing to put all our money into an RRSP. Those are the kinds of questions you make as you go, and you adjust as you carry through, and life unfolds, and you see what happens. And there are many, many things that happen along the way. You know, we lose jobs. We have children. We perhaps have more children than we expected. Perhaps a loved one needs assistance, and so we end up helping them, or maybe we even have to support them. All sorts of things happen along the way. And so having a plan gives us the ability to measure where we're going, how we're going to get there, and to adjust course as we go. So I hope this has been helpful for you today. This is just a snapshot to look at what it looks like inside a financial plan to maybe help you get a sense of why having a financial plan really matters. Now, if you're younger, you might be thinking, I don't need that now. But here's the thing. The choices we make today about where we put our money, about the risk we take with our money, and that cuts both ways. If we pile up and pile up and pile up money, but we put it all inside GICs, if we haven't allowed for that, the fact that we're paying taxes we go, quite possibly, also that we're getting a 1.2% rate of return, then we're not going to get where we're wanting to go in retirement. The choices we're making about registering our savings, whether it's in an RRSP or a tax-free savings account, all those things are choices we make today that have a lifetime impact. And we can't make decisions to adjust to what we did when we were 30 when we reach age 65. It's too late then. The die has been cast. So it's good to have a plan. You really need to have a plan. This gives you an idea of the kinds of components you should have in a plan. You can see there's all sorts of different types of plans. People use planners, advisors, do all sorts of different things, have different software. But this is the kind of stuff you should find if you have an actual financial plan. So we're going to take a look in the coming weeks at the individual components and how adjustments you make inside a plan have a big impact on the choices you make and the future that you're going to have. I hope this has been good for you. Thanks very much. We really appreciate you joining with us. I just want to close off by letting you know that we are sponsored by the Simple Plan Life Insurance. You can get your free life insurance quotes from most major Canadian insurers at getthesimpleplan.com/quotes. You can also calculate how much life insurance you need at getthesimpleplan.com/how-much. Just a reminder that you can follow us on Facebook. We're there at Macbeth Group. You can also find us on Twitter at Cash Coach Canada and on Instagram at Macbeth Group. You can also go, if you want to, and calculate how much you should be saving and how much you're going to need to live the retirement that you're looking forward to. We just did a show on this last week with all the information on how to use this tool. Go to bit.ly/SP-Retire-Calc. That's bit.ly/SP-Retire-Calc, all lowercase. I'm Brad Macbeth. Thanks very much for joining us today for the Simple Plan Live. We'll be back live again next week and look forward to seeing you then.